Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 44. If you are not yet a subscriber, then please do consider subscribing, and also don't forget to ding the bell and select all so that whenever one of my videos goes live, YouTube will tell you about it. I want to open this video with a word of thanks to one of my subscribers and regular commenters. You'll see him in quite a few of my videos. Thank you to the Prof for pointing out that there is a 1981 radio show of Lord of the Rings which has kept me company all week. It's been absolutely wonderful and I really appreciate you pointing me towards it. What a wonderful week it's been. So there's a impact of this YouTube channel that was unlooked for and much appreciated. So thank you very much, Prof. You're a star, you really are. So to the week. It's been a good week. I've really enjoyed my hobbying this week. I've got back into the mojo and the love of it a little bit more, and yeah, I've made loads of progress. I've managed to get little 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there, which is the way I like to do it through the day whenever I get a little break from work. And I've progressed my battle games in Middle Earth quite a lot, though you obviously won't get to see very much of that, if any, in this video. But also I've finished up the White Tower expansion and made a load of progress on the Durin's door build, and also unboxed and done other few bits and pieces. So I will let you watch that. I will thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again at the end. As you can see, I've taken delivery of some more miniatures, but they're almost more than miniatures. They're definitely not for gaming, they're almost dioramas in themselves. These are from Mindwork Games. Now, just before I start unboxing, which I'm going to do next, I just wanted to say that I had a really good experience with this company. They were a little slow to deliver, which is absolutely fair enough, because this particular one was out of stock, and rather than ship the other two and incur multiple shipping fees, they just waited for that to come in. And then very quickly, when I emailed to say where is it, I had a reply and there was no problem. It was very polite. I do know that shipping from new people, buying from new web stores, can sometimes be a little bit kind of nerve-wracking and risky feeling. Just wanted to say that certainly my experience with Mindwork has been very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox, show you what you get in each of these boxes, and then they'll probably unfortunately go onto the pile of shame because I won't have time for the time being to paint them up, certainly to the quality I want to, but they are glorious. So we'll focus on this one, which is the one that's actually the most special. So I will just get myself ready and I'll be back very shortly. What you see here is a limited edition. It is number 115 of 200 and is called Lost Note. Oh, just trip over something there, called Lost Note. And this is what took me over to Mindwork, because I saw this in a, I think it's on Facebook maybe, or might have been on Instagram, and it's such a beautiful sculpt that I just needed to own it and give it a chance, try at painting it. As you can see, it comes very nicely packed with this packing material, which is standard, it seems to me, for how they pack things. They are very, very good at packing. You get this little sprue sheet which has quite a lot of different parts in it. As you can see, when I come to assemble this, I'll take this out of the zip bag, but I'm not going to take it out now because I don't want to lose anything or damage anything. This is a resin model. It is not plastic, so it is not very hard wearing. It is definitely diorama. As you can see, you've got some lovely skulls on the base. And then over here we have the two large sections of body. And these fit together very nicely. They've got little nubs, and if we just slot that in, if I can work out which way it goes, having said it fits together very nicely, it does. I've done this once. You see, the reason it's going wrong is because I was doing it the wrong way around. There we are. Right, I will have probably cut that last bit out because there was a lot of faff in there, but you can see that that fits in very nicely. There's very, very few seams. There might be a tiny bit of filling, but yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful. And you can see that there are little knobs so that you can fit the legs in, and on the bottom they correspond to the sections on the base. So all in all, it is a beautiful cast, and I can't wait to get stuck into it, but I'm going to have to because I just don't have time. So I'll pack this away and then we'll pull out the next box and see what's in that one. Next up we have this sculpt, which is called Blood Temple, and you can see that this has artwork which is actually of the sculpt and the signature of the sculptor, which is pretty cool. A very nice box. When we open this up, we have more excellently packed materials. You can see that it comes with a nice big chunk of soft foam, and then inside there, nestled on the same packing materials, we have our zip bag which contains the body of the lady. It's going to be fun to paint that. And then we have 2 halves of, let me just dig that out. There we are, remove all of the packing materials. And then we have the actual base here, which has notches on it the same as the other one, so that fits in there very nicely. And then that fits on top, I believe. I'm not sure. Looks like it, doesn't it? It's got little notches there. There we are. So that fits like that. Sorry, that was terribly filmed. So we have some kind of a, yeah, I think that must be the other way around. Ah, I'm an idiot. There we are. Right, so yeah, so you've got this nice big beautiful column, and then she will be standing in front there. You can see there we've got some little footprints and what have you for where the girl will stand. But that one was one that when I was looking at the first model, I just saw it and I thought I want to paint that, and that will be a beautiful little diorama piece just sitting in its own right, not necessarily for gaming. As I've said, they're very delicate, but they're very beautifully cast and again very beautifully packed. So I'll put that away again and I'll be back for the final box. Last but not least, we have the puppeteer. Now this is going to stretch me quite a lot when I come to make it. So again, a slightly different form of box. There's 3 different styles of box, but all of them are well packed. You can see we get the same material that we've had in the others, so let me just pull that out. There we are. So in this one, here is, I can actually, because it's not in a zip, I can actually show you a little bit more detail just how beautifully that's sculpted. Isn't that lovely? So that's the puppeteer. And then I'm not going to open this because it's nicely sealed, but inside here will be all the parts to create the model. And that's it. So there's very little in that one, but when it's made, this has little people down here, and he's puppeteering. He's kind of controlling them with his strings. It's going to be a lot of fun to make. So as you can see, these 3 are all quite different, and all going to stretch me quite a lot as a painter and also as an assembler. But you shouldn't do things just because they're easy. You should also try and do things that are difficult, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into these. I just don't know when that will be. So I thought I'd quickly show you these, give you my first impressions, and also just give a shout out to Mindwork for being so good to work with. I hope that this has maybe inspired you to jump over to their site and order something and give it a go. When my skills pick up, when my painting skills pick up a bit more, I will get these to the table and I will bring you along for that journey as well. These have dried really nicely and I'm very happy with them. They're good thickness. I'm going to need to do something with the top obviously, but that's fine, I can do that afterwards. I might just run a bead of the air dry clay along the top. But what I'm going to do now is the same painting technique as I used for the main walls. Just I have my cloth just out of sight here. Let's pop that into view so you can see. So taking most of the paint off and then come along and dry brush really quickly. It doesn't take very long at all. So I'll do that process on both of these, both sides, and then I'll be able to glue them in place. So I'll get that done. There's no point in you watching all of this. It's the same thing as you've seen 100 times, but I did just want to show you just how nicely they've come out. While I'm at it, actually, what I'll do is I'll show you the attempt I made with pressing into this foam, which didn't really work very well, and I've actually since stolen a bit, and that is what that is. So yeah, so I've actually cut a bit off. This isn't the right length anymore, but that didn't work very well, not with this material. I might try with some different materials another time, but for now that's not going to work. So I'll get this painting done and I'll bring you along when I come to glue it together. Right then, let's get these stuck in place. I've just dry brushed them. I don't need to spend any more time really than what I've done to dry brush them. So using some PVA, I'm going to run the PVA down here and put them on the bottom and up the side, and then stick that in place, and then I'll do the long ball. So that is going to go there, like so. And what I probably should do is put the glue on the long wall as well. So let's do that now. with that glue on, we will set that in place. Like that, and I will now leave that to dry. So these have been dried and they're looking quite good. I'm quite pleased with how they're looking. I used these little supports to make sure that it stayed straight, but it stayed straight anyway. What you can't see is there's actually some gaps here and a little gap here, and there are other places where I need to fill in the corners. So what I'm going to do is I have some terracotta air drying clay. I only have one packet of it. I've just picked it up just to see how it was. And what I'm going to do, and I'll move the camera around so you can see the gap I'm going to fill there, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make little sausages of it, and I'm going to push it in there, and then I have on my handy magnetic rack some sculpting tools, which means I can then push it all in, and it will look fine when it's dried and fill that gap. So I'm going to go around and just fill in all the gaps, just with little sausages of this, and then let that to dry overnight, or go off overnight. And then the next step will be coming in and doing dirt and gravel and dust, and that will also fill in some gaps. So we're just going to fill those holes like that. So what I'll do now is I'll shift the camera quickly so you can see some of the mistakes I made around the walls, and then I'll just turn the camera off and I'll keep doing this filling process. There you can see here that there's a gap right the way through. This is because this wall wasn't totally straight. And, well, that's fine, I don't mind, because I can easily fill that, which I will do now. I will easily fill that with some red air dry clay, and then that gap will be gone. So I'm going to turn the camera off now so I can make a bit more access and be a bit more comfortable, and I'll bring you back when it's finished to show you what it looks like, and then for the next step. We are really close to finishing this, I cannot wait. That didn't take me long. I filled in all the gaps that I want to, and I'll leave that to go off overnight, and then tomorrow I'll come in and do the final bits and pieces of the weathering, and then I'll be done with this, which is really cool. So what I'm going to do now is a step that will help me with the weathering. So let me just move the camera and I'll show you the next thing I'm going to do. Right, what I have is the rest of the air dry clay. Now I could save this if I wanted to. It's still good. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to crumble this up into bits of something I can use for rubble. So I won't film all of this, but I'm literally just going to break it up and let it to dry, let it to go off in this little plastic tray. And what we'll end up with is some stuff that I can then scatter around to fill in gaps, and it will look like broken up bricks or what have you. It must be quite small because they're quite small bricks, but not quite as sausage shaped as that one. So I'm just going to watch a video. I've just been watching Luke Towan's 1 million sub video. How awesome is that? I mean, I've been watching his videos for years, not as many years as some, I'm sure, but still it's really cool to see him get to that milestone. So I'm going to chuck some videos on and just get this process done. It's a bit dull, and I think I've shown you enough, and then we'll use these tomorrow when we're dressing the rest of this basement. I have not been idle on this build, even though it's been a little while since the last update. I have been practicing and testing out some techniques. The biggest thing that concerns me, I'm pretty happy with everything else I've got to do for this, but the biggest thing that concerns me is obviously the doorway. Now that's pretty small, it's a tiny thing, and particularly with the writing and what have you, it's very, very fine. But never mind the writing I'll just have to kind of fudge. The actual structure's hard enough, the actual large lines are hard enough for me to conceptualise how I was going to carve it and how I was going to transfer it over to foam. So I've tried a couple of different techniques, and I think that I've found the answer, which I'm going to show you my test piece, and then I'm going to do the actual process again. The test piece involves taking the picture that I've printed out and PVA gluing it to some of this foam. Now the good thing with this is that PVA doesn't really stick very well, but it sticks well enough for my purposes, so it's not gonna, the paper's not going to stay on it. As you can see, that's been peeled off. So I'll stick that to the foam, and then when that's done, I've got a very fine knife. I tried it with a sculpting tool and it just doesn't cut the paper enough. This is still going to be another practice piece, by the way, because I want one more try, but I just wanted to show you what I was doing. And then once that's glued down, I take a knife, so an X-Acto blade, and very, very carefully and with a lot of patience, I cut along the edges and the lines that I want to have. And if you can see, that has actually transferred pretty well into there. And the next thing I can do is with a sculpting blade of some shape, that one looks pretty good,
quite a wide flat one, I can then widen those lines quite easily, and you can see doing this, let me just get into better shot. You can see that I can then widen these lines quite nicely and get quite a strong carving, which particularly when we've applied some paint and dry brush it, will give quite a good kind of like, that's the, yeah, I'm not going to do too much of it because this is just a test piece, but you can see just how easily that's going to mean that I transfer that over to the foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down now. So I've got my PVA, so what I'll do is I will apply a generous amount, but not too much. I didn't put my lid on my glue when it dried, what an idiot. There we are. So put some PVA glue and then just spread that around, and the important thing is that the PVA does cover the whole area that you want to have that your paper is, because that one didn't quite, and it was a little bit annoying where it was lifting. So put a lot of PVA on, more than you think. In this case I don't normally do that. Apply your paper like so, and then what I will do is I have these heavy metal what's-its, and I'll weight it down like so. So there we are. I'll let that dry and I'll bring you back for the next step. I'm now going to attempt, and I don't know whether this is going to be my final attempt or not, but I'm now going to attempt to do the best job I've done so far of following these guidelines using my very, very sharp, as you see, brand new, very sharp blade on this X-Acto knife, and attempting to carve out this shape for the door. I'm going to leave the camera running. I don't know how long it's going to last or what the battery's going to be like, but I'll pop some music on, and you can watch as much as it goes. I'm just going to do this really, really steadily. I need to be really, really patient. So yeah, here goes. Let's see how well I managed to follow this design and punch it through into the foam below. Welcome to another unboxing. What you can see here is 5 boxes. These are some beautiful sculpts I've bought from Black Sun Miniatures. The top 2 here are both 75mm full scale, as you can see, full body. So we've got Durin the Legend and Sigmar the Savage Beauty, and I've got an idea for there's another couple I'm going to buy when they come back in stock. I'm going to do a diorama with those. And then at the bottom we have 3 busts. We've got Brest the Old Barbarian, we've got Sigmar the Savage Beauty, which is the same one as this, and then here we've got Dragon's Daughter, which is something completely separate. So yeah, I bought these because I want to get better at painting, and having things like this will get you better at painting, and I just was really, really impressed with the sculpts. I will also say that I was very, very impressed with the service. Again, second time, I want to give a little bit of a shout out as well to Black Sun. I emailed asking when things were going to come in stock, because there were some items that I wanted that weren't yet in stock, showing us out of stock on site, and I wanted them, like I've said, there's a couple more I want to buy for these, and I received an email very quickly, very politely, and with a lot of very good information, telling me not just that they would come in stock, but roughly how long I'd have to wait for each of the items I was interested in. So that's a big double thumbs up from me. That's how it should be. People should treat with respect, and they should react very quickly. And because he's been very good, I'm very happy to recommend. I did buy these. I am not sponsored. That's just my attitude, my opinion. So what we'll do is we'll open up a couple of these now and show you what's inside the box. But I did want to do a quick introduction to what they are and tell you that experience with Black Sun as well. Another recommendation. I'm very happy to unboxings this week, and both of them good feedback. Let's start off with the Dragon's Daughter, which is not being bought for any specific particular purpose. It is just one that I really like the look of, and I'm looking forward to painting. So I've got myself my sharp knife, and I'm going to very carefully take the single-use plastic, which regular viewers will know I love so much. Why does it have to be shrink wrapped? Why can't it just come as a cardboard box? Doesn't add anything. Such waste. Much chunter. Anyway, there we are. So that goes out, and that'll just go into the bin and not be useful for anything. I can't recycle that. Unless anyone has an idea of how I can recycle or reuse it for my hobby. I haven't worked anything yet. So we'll open that box. It's a really nice box, and look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Let me just lift that up closer to the camera. Not that it's focusing very well. Let me just sort that out. Beautiful. So that's really well packed again, and you can see it's a slightly larger scale than the other ones that I've unboxed. Here is the main body, and then you have very nicely packed, really nicely packed. You have in a large zip bag, and then each separately in a zip bag. That's really nice. A bit wasteful, but I do find those useful, so they are not going to be binned. And then a lovely sticker, which I will probably stick on something. So why not? Let's take this out of its zip bag and have a look. So you can see there that this is a single piece. I don't need any gluing to do the actual main body. And I can't initially see. There's a little bit of a seam here on the back of her arm. Yeah, maybe a little bit of one there, but that's going to be obscured when you're doing when you actually stick the other arm in, and maybe a little bit under here, which you're not really going to see, but just at the back below her tail. But that is absolutely beautiful. There's some details here. She's got like the rest of her snake skin on her face, and that is hair, not a hood. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to paint. So there we are. So that is, let me just remind myself of the actual name. That is Dragon's Daughter. Dragon's Daughter in 1/12 scale. It's not really, it's a bit dark there. 1/12 scale, and it's sculpted by Victor Aguilar from Black Sun Miniatures. So there we are. At some point that will land on my table, and I'll paint it, and you'll be along for that ride. So let's pack that up again, and I will be back for the next box. Next up, we will look at these two, and I'm going to pick Durin the Legend first, and we'll do these together, because my idea here is, along with one other or two other that are on the site, which are not going to be in stock for another few weeks, I'm going to do a really cool large diorama. Obviously large because these are 75mm. So once again, really nicely packed, nice bit of foam. Wow, look at that. That is beautiful. I mean, clearly I'm opening these absolutely live for you, but you can see there's such detail on that, and then there's a couple of different sprues. There's a base, there's a shield, he's got an axe, a couple of swords, a couple more swords that are strapped on the back of his cloak. He's badass, good old Durin. Right, I'll pop him away, and we will have a look at some Samara, the Savage Beauty. There we are. So, again, same excellent packing, good solid hard foam, and again, a beautiful sculpt. Really lovely. And slightly less options on this one. Little base, an axe again, got a lot of axes. It looks like an empty scabbard. Yeah, look, so she's going to have an axe and a sword in her hands, and then an empty scabbard. That's really cool. I found this sometimes that you end up with scabbards that have swords in even when they're not supposed to, because obviously, you know, they're holding it. So that's really cool. So those are beautiful sculpts, and they may get to the table sooner than anything else. I'm very impressed with those. So I'll pack them up, and then we'll have a look at the final 2 boxes. Okay, now we have these final 2, which is Sigmar the Savage Beauty, which is a large-scale bust of the same miniature we just looked at, and we have Breast of the Old Barbarian. So what I'm going to do is we're going to open Sigmar first, and we'll save the new one for the end. So, okay, once again, same box, same excellent packing, and the large scale, as you can see. I'm going to have to up my skin game. And we have the horns and a headdress, and this time her sword is in her sheath, and we have an axe and a bow and arrows and quiver and all those things, and another. I'm going to be overrun with stickers, so that's beautiful. And now let's open this one. There we are. So this is Breast, the Old Barbarian. And that is one mean looking son of a bitch. Maybe slightly damaged. You can see here there's a braid coming down here, but there isn't on this side. I'll have to look a bit deeper into that and see whether that is a bit of damage or not. But yeah, beautifully sculpted. Got some scars on him here, which will be good to pick out. Again, gonna have to work on my skin game. And then the parts are an awesome shield. Oh wow, look at that! Look at the skull of the demon coming out of there. I'm not sure what that is. And we have a hammer. Yep, so that's a Warhammer with the same demon. That is going to be a lot of fun to paint. So there we are. Those are the 5 models I've picked up from Black Sun. As I say, very impressed with the service, very impressed with the packing, and hopefully going to be very impressed with what they look like when I finish painting them up. I hope you've enjoyed that. I don't do many unboxings. I'm learning how to do it, and hopefully that was a slightly better one than my previous ones. Please do let me know if you've enjoyed that. It'd be good to hear. So yes, these will now go on the pile of shame and will be picked up at some point in the future. It's the next night, and I'm now going to make use of this sculpting tool that you can see here to follow through on the things that I marked through, so to widen the marks that I made with the X-Acto blade. So once again, I will turn the microphone off, and you can watch as I with some music, and I'm just going to crack on with this and watch some YouTube videos myself. This is one very, very happy, excited beard, because that worked perfectly. Look at that, that is absolutely spot on for what I need to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick that here to this backboard in the middle, and I'm going to actually wedge it a little bit up, because there's some steps that go in front of it which lead up to it, so that's why it's slightly raised above the ground. So I'm just going to glue it in place there. which will obviously then, let's get that a bit better, there we are, which I will then need to weight, so I'll probably just press against it with something. And when that's done, then I can start to do the sculpting, so I can start to do the rest of the rock, and I can put the trees in place, which obviously is the bit that I'm nervous about after this. This is quite a stretch for me, this build, but that's exciting. But also it's going to really start to make the whole diorama come together, and I am going to work forwards from the back and then do the the water last. So we'll get the rock and the cliffs, and we'll get the trees, and then when we're doing that, we'll be able to start coming down over the bank, and the roots reach into the water a little bit, and then when that's done, then we'll be able to start building the water up. So I'm only going to use PVA glue for this, so let's just get some PVA, put a dollop on, get a brush, spread that out smoothly and thinly, and then put it in place, and then we'll leave that overnight, and I'll be back to this as soon as possible to do the next step. So that will go roughly in the middle, like so, and I will weight that in place with something not too heavy. So how about that? There we are. So that will just hold that in place so that it doesn't move, and now I'll be back to that as soon as possible to do the next step. Nearing the end of this build, we have some rubble. This is what I made from the air dry clay. I may end up making some more, but for now that's going to be enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in, scatter that in places, like at the back here where there's quite a big gap. And then once that's in, I will then get my black paint and I'll paint over the top of these again, just to kind of finish that look off and finish off the top of these. And then I think that'll be me pretty much done with this part of the build. Now, obviously there is a lot more to be done for the entirety of the diorama, and I have about a 10-foot diorama now planned. Yes, 10 foot, which is a bit silly, but as I've observed in the past, when I've ever done things that are just simple small builds, I don't do that. That's not my style. So we'll get this finished, and then the part of the next build is actually being done for a Battle Games of Middle Earth video. The lake part, so you'll have to wait for that to come out to see how that progresses. But part of it is also actually going to be just some more slopes and a little forest and other bits and pieces like that. So I'll get this done, and I'll bring you back when it's finished, when I'm happy with how it looks, and show you what it looks like, and then I'll do the black painting. So I'll turn the camera off now so that I don't ramble and waste more of your valuable time listening to me talking rubbish. So that's done now. I've got rubble back here, I've got some here, I've got some around the entrance to the tower, and then some here and some here. So that's perfect. It looks really, really good. So what I'm now going to do is just come along with my black paint and paint in over these areas which are white. I'm doing this with a very small brush, so I won't film it all again because it's going to take me a little bit of time, because I need to be quite careful while I'm doing it. I don't want it to drip, and I want to make sure that I stay in control of my paint. And as you can see, as per usual, I need to stir my paint a bit more regularly than I do. So I'll just get all of this painted with black, and what I'm also going to do is paint across the top of these walls that I've added just in black, just to finish them off a little bit. I did think, and I probably, if I had not forgotten, I would have put some air dry clay across the top as well, but I didn't, and it doesn't matter. It's going to look fine when it's tidied up with black like this. So I'll get this done, and then we'll wrap the build up. Yay! Very pleased. And then I'm going to actually play a game on it, I think, which will land on the channel at some point, but I'm not sure when, because I'm still learning how to film bat reps like that rather than board games. So yeah, I'll get this done, and I will be back to wrap up very shortly. Next step on this is going to be to use some of Luke's modelling compound to build up the rock surface and then cover over the bank. And when that's dried and looks like rocks, then I will start to look at doing the trees. So we really are cracking forwards on this now. The hesitation or the experimentation around the doorway has been very successful. Obviously I'm very, very pleased. It gives me the scope of how I'm going to be make it how thick I'm going to be making this, and with this going on as well, it will actually add some more structural integrity to the back. So I'll leave the camera running, I won't natter too much, and you can watch how I do this. I can see I'm just mixing this up to a consistency that I like, and then we'll just smudge it on and smooth it out and make it into a rock surface, in front of which of course there will be trees. So anyway, it's enough muttering, onwards. Back a couple of days later, and I'm going to do the rest of the sculpting modelling compound. Going to come away from the edge of the cliff face and down to and into the water, and also I'm going to finish off doing the sides. I did a little bit on this side, but I'll do that side as well just to finish it all off, and then what I'll be able to do is start on the holly bushes, which, yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but we'll see. So I will again pop some music on and show you some of this, and I might just stop if it gets a bit boring, because it's basically the same thing. What I'm doing is making myself some modelling compound, so a little bit of out of the pot there, and then add some water, mix it up, and then slap it on. It's an agricultural process. You don't really need to be too precise, because if you screw up and you put too much water in, you add a bit more sculptor mould, and if you don't have enough water, you drip a little bit more in. So yeah, I'll get that done, and I will show you what it looks like, or bring you in for the next process probably. Won't bother coming back. I'll bring you in for the next process when it's finished.
Well, there we are. It was a really varied week. It was enjoyable. As I've said, I had a lot of fun in my crafting, and that's what it's all about. As I said in my I am a wargamer video, having fun is what it's about, doing this for yourself. And honestly, this week the vlog has really inspired me, and I have felt inspired, and that's really cool. So if you've got anything to say, please do drop it in the comments below. I always do love to hear from you, and I always do reply as well. So yeah, do please comment if you have something to add, and if not, then that's fine. Thanks very much for watching and for making it this far. And I'll sign off like I always do by saying, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.